Corporations. What documents do business owners commonly miss? As a business attorney, I get to work with a lot of corporations. A lot of corporations have been formed by the business owners themselves. Maybe they use LegalZoom. Maybe they used another law firm, or maybe they use some kind of online provider. No matter what the case is, a lot of times when companies come to me and I become their attorney, I will eventually end up going through their past documents either sooner than later for some reason. So we'll be looking at the corporate documents. And there are some corporate documents which are commonly missed, particularly in the case of these corporations, using corporate in this case to mean business, as many lawyers do. But for corporations in specific, what you generally have when you form the company is a certificate of formation or certificate of incorporation, articles of incorporation. The name varies, but something that was filed with the state to set the company up. Almost everybody has one of those. Hopefully they're compliant. Hopefully they got the right information on them. It's something to check, but you've got that basic document. Very few people miss filing with the state, right? You need that to basically get a bank account going or to do anything else. So nobody misses that step. At least it's very rare in my practice. Moving on, you also generally want bylaws that govern the company. Now, a lot of people do end up writing bylaws. Some people miss this step. It's a big one because the articles of incorporation are generally more general. Talks about the initial board of directors, possibly name of the company, registered office, registered agent. Varies a little bit from state to state, but it has some very basic high-level information. Bylaws start getting a little more specific about how do meetings happen, how do we notify people about meetings, what happens in the business. And so the two of them work hand in hand, and you generally need both. Your state law is probably going to say you have to have bylaws, so you're going to want both of them. Those bylaws are generally adopted through various meetings, particularly a meeting of the incorporator or incorporators. The people who form the company are supposed to then have a meeting. Sometimes this is by writing, sometimes it's in person, but they're supposed to adopt those bylaws, get the board set up, and get the company rolling. Now, a lot of times when I see companies that are set up very quickly, this is a step that's missed. There's not this piece that kind of ties the bow together and shows how the bylaws were adopted, how that they came into being, that they were signed off on by somebody. So that is a step that's commonly missed. Also missed by a lot of corporations is actually cutting the share certificates and getting them out to the stockholders. So the corporation should be creating the stock certificates. I personally like to give them to the stockholders because they are their stock certificates. So the stockholders really should be holding them and keeping them in their files to evidence their ownership. Now, you need to be very careful with them because they are important securities and the originals are important. So a lot of times those stockholders want to hold that in a special file cabinet somewhere where they can retrieve it when the time's right. A lot of times these things do get lost. What I do find is a lot of corporations miss the step of creating that stock certificate, having it signed by the appropriate person at the company to make it a live original stock certificate, recording it in the share ledger. So there may be some corporate cleanup there. I've done that numerous times, gone back and cleaned up the share ledger, how the transfers happened, who had what, right? That's one of the key activities in a corporation is to clean up and make sure you have clear records of who owns what. Now, some lawyers will have the company hold the stock certificates. I don't think that's as appropriate as giving it to the stockholders, but I understand why they do that because it keeps everything in one place. But the important thing is that we know who has ownership and that we have the stock certificates in a safe place that can be produced. If there's ever a transfer, ever a stock transaction, sale of the company, etc., we want to get those stock certificates back without having to do a lot of affidavits of lost stock certificates. So those are some very basic things. Moving beyond the formation, once we have stock certificates issued, we have bylaws in place, we have a board up and running all through those initial meetings, then we want to have our ongoing periodic and annual stockholder meetings and our annual and periodic board meetings. So that is that chain document. Now those meetings potentially will be missed. Can't really go back and have a meeting from a date that didn't happen. But if there is a gap, we can start rebuilding the sequence and start getting into good habits to make the meetings happening going forward. That will help with veil piercing, protecting liability owners, something we've talked about extensively in other channels here on other videos here on the channel. So you want to go check those out. But start building that nice, neat file. I hope that's helpful, gives you some ideas of some documents that are missing. If you're a corporate owner, you can use this as a checklist Obviously, it's not specific legal advice for your situation, but it gives you some general ideas, things you can talk about with your attorney. If you do have questions or comments, go and drop them below, but keep them very general. Questions and comments on a channel like this are not confidential. Other people will see them. So don't put things there you don't want other people seeing. And I hope you will subscribe to the channel so we can join each other for more videos soon. And I'll talk to you very soon.